Year 1, it is Thursday the 11th of February today, and we are going to get started with your literacy lesson if you have the Year 2 booklet. Now, you will notice today that I don't have a booklet, and that's because we have worked so hard this half term that we have completed it, haven't we? And we did our last pages yesterday. And if you remember yesterday, I said to you, we are going to do some super learning on Thursday and Friday without our workbooks that uses all of the super skills that we have been practicing this half term. So today you will need lined paper and a pencil to complete your writing activity, and you will also need your whiteboard and your whiteboard pen to jot down some of your ideas, okay? Now, I've today thought of an activity that I saw that you really enjoyed in the workbook, and that was the story about the selfish giant. And I knew that you enjoyed it because I looked at all of your fantastic adjectives. So let's have a look at my question, which is our learning question for the day. And the learning question is, can I begin to use adjectives in my writing? Now, when we looked at the selfish giant story, we used adjectives, didn't we? And we found them and we used them in our reading. So today I'm going to see if we can remember what an adjective is and use it in our writing. Now, the first thing I want you to do is shout at me from your homes and tell your adults what an adjective is. Can you remember? What is an adjective? Shout it out, nice and loud. Super. So let's see if you were right. An adjective is a word that describes, isn't it? It describes a noun. So when we are describing, we are giving extra information, aren't we? To make our writing lots more exciting. And we know that when we are using a describing word, we need to describe a noun. And don't forget, a noun is a name, and it's a name of a person, a place, or a thing. Okay? A person, a place, or a thing. Brilliant. So, today I thought we could have a really good go at writing a short story using adjectives. Now, when I say story, a lot of you are going to go, oh, no, that's going to be lots and lots of writing, but a short story is about a paragraph, so a few sentences for the beginning, a few sentences for the middle, and a few sentences for the end. Shall we have a look at what I would like us to write our story about? Okay, let's have a look. So, I would like us today to write our story about this picture here. Okay, can you all see that? It is a haunted house. Now, before we start writing, we are going to think about lots and lots of different adjectives about our picture today. And we're going to fill the board, and you're going to fill your whiteboards at home with lots and lots of adjectives. So, when we begin to write, we will have lots of exciting ideas to write down. So this activity will really help us to get some super writing, okay? So let's start then by thinking about some describing words for our haunted house. Shout them out at me. Dark. Excellent. Dark. Next one. Spooky. Well done. I like that one. Spooky. Brilliant. Next one. Big. The house is big. Well done. Can you think of any others? What do we think? Tall. The trees are tall, aren't they? So we've got big, dark, spooky, tall. Can we think of any more? Scary. All of these words describe picture, don't they? They describe the house. Can we think of any more? Let's have a look. Eerie, good one. So we've got eerie as well. How could we describe, look at the windows, red, couldn't we? Red windows, glowing, red glowing windows, okay? So what I would like you to do now is I would like you to pause the board and I would like you to fill your whiteboard with lots and lots of adjectives about our haunted house, okay? Because then when we come back we can start to think about our story, okay? And these words will help us to write our story today. So pause the board, take your time, get lots of adjectives all around. You could draw your haunted house in the middle of your board like mine, okay? And then get lots and lots of adjectives describing the house, describing the trees, describing the sky, describing the bats. Think of all the different things that you could use to describe, okay? Brilliant. And then once you've done that, we are going to have a look at 2 questions before we start to write. And our first question is, who is in the story? So I would like you to write that question on your paper first. And then you're going to think about what characters you would like in your story. Now, Miss James has chosen a little boy and a friendly ghost. Those are my 2 characters that I've thought about in my story. And I think those 2 characters are going to be all I'm going to talk about. So you don't need a lot because it's only a short story, but I want you to choose your own, okay? One of them could be the same as Miss James's if you wanted to, but I would really like you to think of your own characters. So pause the board, write down your question, who is in the story, and write down your characters, okay? So you don't need this bit just yet, just this first question, okay? So pause, have a really good think. Okay, super. So we know now what our story is going to be about. We've got our haunted house and we've got our characters. So the next thing we need to look at is what happens in the story. Now, to help you, Year 1, I have given you 3 subheadings, okay? So 3 things to focus on. The beginning, the middle and the end, okay? Now, thinking about the beginning, what happens at the start of the story? Think about your characters, what might happen at the start. Then the middle, what's going to happen next in your story. And then the end, what will happen last, okay? And normally at the end, it's a happy ending, isn't it? Okay, especially if we're writing a nice short fairy tale or a traditional tale, normally at the end it's a happy ending, isn't it? But if you want to, yours doesn't have to be happy, but Miss James is going to be happy. So I'm going to tell you now my beginning, my middle and my end, and that's going to help you decide on what your story is going to be. So if you look here, I have put the beginning and I've put the little boy gets lost. So I've thought really hard, and I think in my story the boy is going to be walking through the woods and he's going to get lost, okay? He's going to get lost and he's going to find the haunted house. So then, in the middle of my story, the little boy is going to go into the house and he's going to meet a friendly ghost. So I'm going to write that here, just a really simple sentence to help me remember, because these sentences here are just to help you build your story. You can then make them more exciting when we go to write our story by using adjectives. So in the middle, the boy goes into the house. Oh. okay? And he's going to meet the friendly ghost. And then remember, my ending was really happy. And I said the friendly ghost helps the little boy find his way home, okay? So what I would like you to do now is pause the board again, write down my second question, what happens in the story, and then you're going to think about the beginning, the middle and the end. And then once you've done that, we can come back and we can think about the start of our story, okay? Super job. So, we've got our characters, we've got our place where the story is, what the story is about, and we've also got our storyline now. Now we're going to begin our writing, okay? And I would like you to start your story with our opener, once upon a time. Because when we're writing a fairy tale or a traditional tale or a fictional story, which remember is made up, so it's make-believe, lots of stories start with once upon a time. So I would like you to start yours with once upon a time. And then we need to think about how we're going to write our first sentence. So thinking about the beginning of a story, I need to say, who's in my story, don't I? I need to introduce my characters and I need to think about my beginning. So let's go back to my beginning, okay? So I said at the beginning of my story, the little boy was going to get lost. And where was he going to get lost? In the woods. So, let's think about my first sentence. Once upon a time, a little boy was walking in the woods. Now, can I add an adjective? Let's go back and have a look at how I can describe my woods. We describe the woods as spooky. So I'm going to use that word. Once upon a time, a little boy was walking once upon a time, a little boy was walking in the, what was my adjective, year one? Spooky, brilliant. Spooky woods. Okay. So there is my first sentence. Have I told the story, have I told the reader about the character? I have. My little boy, he's here. Have I used an adjective? I have. Yeah. Okay. Once upon a time, a little boy was walking in the spooky woods. Now go back to my beginning. My second sentence, what do I need to say? I need to say the little boy gets lost, don't I? So back to my story then. Once upon a time, a little boy was walking in the spooky woods. Now how could I say my next sentence? What could I write? He was lost and very scared. Okay, so that's going to be my next sentence. Capital letter. He was lost and very scared. Now, I've used two sentences for the beginning of my short story, okay? And that is what you need to do as a minimum. If you want to make it bigger, that's fine. But two sentences will be the beginning. Because now I'm ready to talk about the middle of my story. And if I go back, the middle of my story, the boy goes into the house and he meets the friendly ghost, doesn't he? So I know that those two sentences I'm ready to write now. So I would go back now to my story and I can write my next two sentences. Okay? Thinking about my adjectives, I might write, the boy crept into the big dark house. Okay? He met a ghost, but it was a friendly ghost. Okay? And those would be my 2 sentences for my middle. And then for the end of the story, let's have a look. I said the little boy was going to go home and the friendly ghost was going to help him, didn't I? So at the end, thinking about our opener, what do we sometimes read at the end of our stories if they are a traditional tale or make-believe? And they all lived happily ever after. Well done. So I've started us off today with our story, and I would like you to work really hard using all of the beautiful writing skills that we've been focusing on and the reading skills to make sure you're reading your sentences back, you're making sure you've got your adjectives and that our work makes sense, and also your fantastic handwriting skills as well. Building all those together to write me a short story about our haunted house. Now I'm going to leave the haunted house picture on the board so you can think about your story, okay? And I really can't wait to read each one of your individual stories and see what characters you think of, what storyline you think of, and what's going to happen in your story. I can't wait. So have a really, really good try today. Take your time, enjoy, and I will see you tomorrow.